So are you feeling a little bit blah and just don't have the energy that you wish you had? So, and there are days, let's face it, where we get out of bed and we just don't have that energy. I don't think we all wake up every single day and go, woohoo, it's a fabulous day and I have all of this energy available to me. There are definitely days when we are a little bit slower than what we would like to be. But here's the thing, sometimes what we have to do is honor those days. So when we are feeling a little bit blah and unmotivated and not feeling energetic, it could just be that our body is telling us that it's time to just take a little relax and just a little bit of reflection time and to nurture ourselves a little bit more. But what happens when those days go on and on and on? You know what I'm talking about. So, you wake up one day and you just don't have that energy, and then the next day it's the same, and the next day it's the same, and the next day it's the same, and then you keep thinking to yourself, oh my goodness, when is this going to change? What am I going to do about it? How am I going to just simply be able to function when I'm feeling like this? And so, look, this is the story that I've heard from, hundreds of ladies over the years, how they just don't feel like they had the energy that they once had. Now, that was me. So, when I was in my 40s, I wasn't feeling great, and goodness, I was actually having a nana nap in the afternoon in my 40s, and I'm thinking, this is not right. There is something so wrong with this. And so the number one thing that I learned from that is always listen to your body, honor it. So I was persistent, and I found out that I had a bit of a health issue, and I needed to actually get that addressed. Then I went into menopause, and that created a whole host of, other side effects. So, I wasn't sleeping as well. I was waking up, so I was lacking energy because I wasn't getting enough sleep as well too. And so I had this, terrible cycle going on. And so I get it. I understand when we don't have energy, how hard it is to take those steps forward. But I was really, really lucky that and blessed that I did listen to my body and that I did find out what was happening. And that was sort of like that moment where I went, I need to change something. Because I knew that I come from a whole host of obese and preventable disease women. So my mother, my grandmother, my great-grandmother, have got diabetes, heart disease, high cholesterol, blood pressure, all of those things. And I knew that that was my future life. And so I needed to change something. And there was that trigger, that moment of when I wasn't feeling well and discovered what was going on. That was the point when I went, I'm going to change something. And I did. I started, looking at research, and then I started, testing things out on myself, and I got my qualifications, certifications, blah, 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 big story. And so I ended up leaving the corporate world where I used to work and came to work in the fitness industry, which is where I am now. And I've been here now since my 40s. I'm now in my 60s, 20 years. And so I think I know a little bit about, the different changes that we go through at, there's changeover of decades that occur in life. And so I know that for us women, as we're aging, we do feel like we don't have the energy that we used to have. And so how do you go about getting that back? There's lots of little tiny things you can do. So the first thing that I'm going to say is, if you're ready to just make some tiny small changes, come join me in my free group, Women Over 50 Get Active and Healthy, right? Because I'm sharing hints and tips and pieces of advice all the time over there. But one of the things that I really love that changes the energy, and it's so, so simple, think about the type of music that you love, the thing that the minute you hear it, it just gets you moving. You know what I'm talking about. For me, Nutbush City Limits. I just cannot sit still. I have to get up and do it, right? The other thing that I really like is, Don't Blame It on the Boogie. And so any of those dancey type pieces of music. So if we just put some music on, and what will happen is it will send off a little message into our brain, and we'll feel a lot happier. And what happens is when that music is cranked up like that, it helps us work out longer and work out harder. But the thing about it is that it doesn't feel like it's harder or longer. And that applies to any aspect of our life, okay? So the music can definitely change that energy flow in our body. Something like this, just moving a bit, that's going to change the energy flow in my body as well too. And if I talk really loud, that's going to change the energy flow in my body as well too. So there are just so many little tiny things that we can do to actually feel like we have more energy. But there are 5 key elements to that. And they are, what we eat, the type of exercise we do, how much we move during the course of the day, whether we're, got our stress under control, whether we're sleeping well. So those 5 key elements are really, really super, super important when it comes to feeling our absolute best. But I love it when I get emails, and I got one from Ruth just this week, and she said, she wasn't feeling too bad, and I'm just going to read it to you. I was just aware that I could do better and have more energy. What I noticed was my winter clothes, they just weren't fitting nicely, and there were just too many bulges showing. And so I hated that enough that I didn't want to go up another dress size. So she had become aware of it. She was lacking in energy, and then she started to, put on the winter clothes because the season has changed, and she went, oh, this is not great. And so after just 2 weeks, she has actually lost like a number of kilos. In her first week it was 2 kilos. In her second week it was 1.7 kilos. And what I really love about this is that she has been able to, at the end of this email, she said, I put on a tailored pair of pants that I hadn't been able to wear. And what I found was that they fitted me already. And so when we were talking, she actually said that she was trying to work out why she was getting such great success, because she's tried to do this in the past. And so she said, in the past I was walking every day, and I was being a lot more active, but I wasn't getting those same results. But what happened is, she sends a little tracker form in to me each week, and I could see she was getting good sleep, she was handling her stress. So she had all these 5 elements, like lined up quite well. Now, don't get me wrong, she was having stress as well too, but she was able to handle it better. It was more conscious in her mind of what she was going to do. But what also happened was she was working out less, but she was doing the right type of exercise. So she was doing her strength days, but she was also doing her endurance days, her cardio days, getting her heart rate up. So it wasn't about, spending hours and hours out there pounding the pavement. It was about just getting the right form of exercise that was going to help her body. It gave her more energy, but it also helped her lose that little bit of weight and body fat that she wanted to lose as well too. So there are so many things that we can do to help ourselves. But here's the thing, sometimes it's really hard to do all of these things at once. Sometimes we can only manage to do one thing, and that's okay. But here's what I want you to think about. Don't think about this stuff as being monumental. You know, that you've identified that your clothes aren't fitting correctly, for example, and you know that you want to lose 7 kilos. So rather than thinking about those 7 kilos, think about how you're feeling, the energy levels, and then just make some small tweaks along the way. Put the music on. Start to move your body a little bit more. Maybe drink a little bit more water. That's a great one as well too. All of these little tiny things, if we do them consistently, they add up and they have a big impact. And that's what's happening with Ruth right now. And I know that this works because it's worked for me, and it's worked for hundreds of other women that I have helped over the years. So if you are that woman who is feeling like a little bit just blah and lacking in energy, come into my free group, Women Over 50, Get Active and Healthy. Or if you are really, really ready to take that first step, you know, just reach out to me. Message me or drop an emoji below, and what we can do is connect, have a bit of a phone call, a bit of a chat, and see where you're at and see how I can help you move forward and get the energy that you love. Because after all, we all want to play and participate energetically in our life. What's important here is we want to be able to do that with the people who are important to us as well too. So take care, have a fabulous day, and I'll see you all soon. Mwah! Bye for now.